Hey guys, Sundown Rider here. This is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai, or the 7 Deadly Sins 260, what I want to tell you. Now, before I get into any of that, I've got three things I want to talk about. First, you may have noticed that I got a new logo. I think it looks pretty cool. I really enjoyed making it. I mean, it's not a very difficult thing to make. I mean, when you look at exactly what I did, it'd be a 5-minute job for a lot of you guys out there who are savvy with Photoshop or Photoshop savvy, whereas I'm not really. I just kind of freestyle and I'm really bad with it. But I made that logo and I'm really happy with it. And I think that's going to be, I'm just going to like play on that specific logo now. In the future, just that's going to be my kind of mainstay logo. So I'm really proud of that. Now, second thing, I've got a Twitch, which I'm gonna put like a little note in the video, like somewhere down here or here. So anyway, in this video, but I'm gonna be streaming like Fortnite on Twitch, Overwatch on Twitch. So come watch that. It should be Sundown Rider. That's my Twitch handle. It should be somewhere around this video. But yeah, come watch me. You can see me get annoyed at my teammates for my own bad performances on Overwatch. You can just watch me being really bad on Fortnite and being generally ecstatic every time I get a kill. It's one of those things. So just watch me go and play games, which I'm thoroughly bad at. But it's just fun to see. And then third thing, I just want a kind of feedback from you guys on it's a general question, especially having read that Reddit post on that One Piece subreddit about different reviewers. There was some mean stuff on there. I was like, really, these guys are crazy, and it kind of applies to me, even though I'm not a very big YouTuber at all, and there's like none of that sellout stuff. But I doubt any of these guys sell out really. But there was some really like eye-opening stuff being said on that post. So I just want to ask you guys, what type of format do you think I should keep on my YouTube channel in terms of my chapter reviews? Lately, I've been doing I just pick out main points in a chapter and I'll talk about those and review those and my general opinion of the chapter. But I've also done in the past going through each page by page and reviewing literally everything that occurs in the chapter. So let me know which of the two you prefer, whether you prefer main points or whether you prefer the entire chapter being read through essentially, which is what I've done before and what I'm going to do this chapter. Or do you actually one of those two, which of the two do you prefer? And then do you really want my opinion on the chapter, or would you just prefer it if I stayed cushy with most of the chapters? Because like it seems like a lot of people don't really give a shit about the opinion, which is also eye-opening. I'm like, that's kind of the point in these channels, we give our opinion as a fan, and you guys can appreciate it or you can dislike it, whatever, but it's an opinion. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think I should do, and we'll get on to that later. But just let me know this in the comments down below. So then actually coming on to the chapter starts with Derriere explaining to Monspiet why she wants to give up her commandment to Zeldris and why she's lost confidence in herself as a commandment. Now essentially she's experienced the compassion of other races, namely people like Elizabeth from the Goddess clan and the woman from the Human clan, or the Human nation, and through their efforts she feels like she can't harbor hatred towards the entirety of the other races like she was taught to do growing up as a demon. So she's lost her hatred essentially, and she feels like she can't maintain her role as a commandment without that hatred that she had. So that's essentially what she's telling Monspiet. And Monspiet, really his response to that is that he's happy that Derriere is first starting to speak more, something that she'd stopped doing after the death of her older sister. But I also think he's proud of her emotional growth, as he's not a person who's ruled by his emotions. He doesn't seem like that type of character. He's always very very intelligent, very logical. So the fact that she's come to that conclusion in and of herself, and he doesn't ever seem someone like who fights people due to hatred, he seemed to be proud of that as well. So Derriere then says she needs to talk to him like she's doing right now, otherwise her sister would be mad at her for not talking to him. So we then find out this chapter that Derriere's older sister loved Monspiet. She was in love with Monspiet, and this was a shock to the system. I was like, damn, really? Like her older sister, the one we saw die because of the Archangel's arc? Because I've always thought that Monspiet and Derriere had a thing going, especially with these recent events with their enduro forms and everything, and then they living together and everything. I thought, yeah, these two have definitely got a thing going. But now it turns out it was Derriere's sister loved Monspiet, and I was like, this is weird as shit. I did not expect that. Monspiet then responds with, and then he kind of just gets cut off. We'll come on to that later. But he's getting ready to present what it feels like the contrasting statement to Derriere's statement, i.e., but I never loved her. Now, the fact that he was going to tell Derriere here before the interruption suggests that Daddy Eddie never knew. That you assume that he's gonna say that he loved Daddy Eddie, but it turns out our boy Monspiet, who was loved by Daddy Eddie's older sister, seems to have always loved Daddy Eddie specifically. And I'm not sure whether this was something that occurred gradually, but it seems to be, even back then, 3,000 years ago and prior to that, that he actually liked Daddy Eddie and Daddy Eddie's older sister liked him. He just never told her for some reason. We'll come back to that. And his commandment, by the way, just for all y'all out there who want to know, is reticence, which is not revealing one's thoughts or emotions quickly or easily. Now, it could be translated as reticence, it could be silence. Both of them kind of essentially mean the same thing in this context. So the chapter quickly heats up when the woman who found Monspiet and Daddy Eddie after their Enduro transformations turns up to warn them about the hordes of demons outside the village. And then right on cue, as she opens the door and she warns them, she gets roasted on the spot by Esterosa's Hellblaze. And I was like, bruh, like, why you gotta do this? I told you last chapter this would happen, and it happened, but I didn't want it to happen, man. I was like, you're a straight dickhead, bro. So I was shooketh here, and I knew Daddy Eddie and Monspiet weren't gonna stay silent after that, even though Monspiet is silent, but I knew they weren't gonna take that and just be like, we can't do anything. They were going to do something after that. So Esterosa strolls in, only for Daddy Eddie to attack him like in a fit of rage. She's pissed off. And Monspiet instantly shouts for her to stop. He's only too aware that Esterosa would use his full counter on her physical attacks. And she's a very physical demon in the sense that a lot of her strengths are to do with her physical ability and amplifying her physical ability. So his full counter is a hard counter to Daddy Eddie. So Daddy Eddie gets blown back while Esterosa questions why they would attack their own teammate. And we see here how twisted Esterosa is, questioning their actions, Monspiet and Daddy Eddie, when we as readers know that he's there to kill them, even if they were to give their commandments to him willingly and oblige to his requests. He'd still kill him, so he's still a good character. He's still someone really interesting, and I like him like that. But man, I hate his snaky ass. I hate who he is and what he represents. I'm just like, you're a dickhead. So we also see Monspiet's demonic marks appear down his arms in like this coiling fashion, readying him up against for his fight against Esterosa. You see that when the Daddy Eddie gets blown back and he's just holding her there like this. So his demonic marks start to appear. Something I'm not sure if we've seen on Monspiet, or not that I remember. I mean, he's been in a few fights, so we must have seen it at one point. So Esterosa then tries to eat the soul of the woman who he deep fried, and even when Monspiet and Daddy Eddie request and plead that he stops, and then our boy Monspiet goes to work here, utilizing his innate magical ability. I think this is what everyone's born with, an innate magical ability, and his one is called Trickstar, or there's another name for it. It's called Conjurer's Joker or something like that. It comes up later. So his innate magical ability, Trickstar, and using this technique, Monspiet is able to switch the positions of two things which share roughly the same dimensions, mass, size, that type of thing. So he switches the soul of the woman for an apple, and Esterosa bites down onto the apple. So he's just like, oh shit, and how'd this happen? And then we have Daddy Eddie freeing the soul of the woman. So Esterosa then, after that whole apple thing, he moves in for the attack with Monspiet expertly dodging every attack. Really, it was quite cool to see Monspiet. We don't think of him as like a physical fighter. And really all that happens is his jacket suffers some damage, and that's about it. We then have Daddy Eddie, who tries to interfere, distracting Monspiet as he tells her to stay away. Now, this is her first strike. This is her first mistake this chapter. And seeing as she is purely a physical fighter, Esterosa, like I said before, is a hard counter to her. So obviously, when Monspiet's like, nah, bitch, stay back, there's a reason for that. He knows that she can't really do anything against Esterosa. He's her hard counter. He's a direct opposite. So this distraction, though, it allows Esterosa to get Monspiet in a rear naked choke, essentially, and that's almost, it would have been game over for anybody else. Well, depends on who you're talking about. It would have been game over for a lot of people, but we see what Monspiet can do. So Esterosa tells them that he's here for their commandments, and both Monspiet and Daddy Eddie are unaware of how he would go about doing such a thing. How would he take our commandments from us unless we give them to him, which is unusual. You'd expect them to know, but then maybe everyone apart from Meliodas and Zeldris were unaware of how to remove a commandment from an individual. I mean, I think even Esterosa was unaware a few chapters ago before Zeldris showed him. So it makes sense when you think about it, because you wouldn't want that to be common knowledge, how to extract a a commandment from an individual, that would just be that there's a whole bunch of demons who would just run riot with that type of shit. So it makes sense that they don't know how to do it. Dedieri then tells Estarossa that they were going to give up their commandments to Zeldris anyway, something Mons Piet agrees with. However, he also goes on to give his reason why. And he says if he was freed of his silence or his reticence, which is his commandment, that's what he's referring to, he'd be able to tell Dedieri the words he's kept from her all this time, the words he's kept in his heart all this time, i.e. he loves her. And I was like, wow, this boy has been holding this shit in for longer than 3,000 years prior to the whole eternal coffin of darkness or whatever, or coffin of eternal darkness. So he is the High Emperor. He is the Lord and highest form of entity within the like friend zone right now, and that hurts my soul. I was like, Mons Piet, jeez, man. So Estarossa proceeds to tighten his grip around Mons Piet's neck, telling them there's no value in a demon who's given up the fight or who's given up fighting for the demons. And he also tells Dedieri and Mons Piet of his plan to take the commandments for himself, whilst also getting rid of his older brothers and his older and younger brother. Now this spurs Mons Piet to drop a dirty reveal on the readers, and this was the best part of the chapter for me, hands down. I'm not sure about you guys, let me know in the comments, but this was really the best part of the chapter. He starts by saying, this is Mons Piet when he's talking to Estarossa, he's like, I knew it, you've lost your mind, you're twisted. And I was like, alright, cool, that's just something anybody in shock would say. But he then tells Estarossa of a secret that the rest of the commandments knew, but not Estarossa himself. So the way he in this situation, he calls Estarossa pitiful little Estarossa. And that was awesome, especially considering the situation he was in quite a bind. Mons Piet, he was in a rear naked. You're basically going to get choked out here. So as Estarossa prepares to hear Mons Piet's last words, in a flash, Mons Piet switches places with Estarossa now being choked out by Mons Piet. And this is once again Mons Piet's ability, but this time he tells us the name that he must call it by, because we called it, or Estarossa called it Trickstar, but Mons Piet tells us of his ability, which he defines as Conjurer's Joke. So I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever. But that switch was really awesome. I was like, and Mons Piet, this entire chapter, was such a badass. And when you find out he was waiting for Estarossa to tighten his grip around his neck in order to switch positions with him, and then he'd be in a better position to choke out Estarossa, I was like, you are a beast. You are so cool right now. Also, his magician-like appearance, coupled with his kind of fundamentals of magic quote, as in, I don't reveal my techniques, because that's as a magician, the fundamentals of magic are that you don't reveal your techniques or how you did them. So I was like, that's gold, man. Like his whole appearance and how he kind of looks kind of like a magician. And then he said that quote as well. I was like, he's a G. He's a straight G. Mons Piet then continues telling us the secret of how Estarossa, now I was really interested by this. Estarossa, essentially, second son of the Demon King, but he was born without the power of darkness, which elite demons seem to all possess. Mons Piet, you see it crawling around his forearms, you see it Dedieri with her left arm, I think it is, you see it around Meliodas and Zeldris and even Estarossa, to be fair. But he was born without his power of darkness. And when he was younger, he was also very timid and cowardly, qualities probably not coveted amongst the demon clan. In an effort to shut Mons Piet up here, though, Estarossa coats himself in like a huge hellblaze explosion, burning Mons Piet too. And I was like, yo, shit, like this is gonna affect Mons Piet, but I doubt he'd let go. But then we find out from Dedieri that this won't affect Mons Piet anyway. He's one of the greatest users of the Hellfire technique, or the Hellblaze technique, amongst the demon clan. So that was a nice bit of just like character development there, just a nice little bit of depth to Mons Piet, and he is a demon elite, so something like this kind of just adds more depth to his character, and I really like that kind of thing. Just finding out more about other characters from other characters' perspectives, and just from what they know of them. I mean, you see it all the time in Game of Thrones as a book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. So I prefer that way of writing. It's really cool. We then find out from Dedieri that actually no, that's already been said, the whole fire thing, the Hellblaze thing. So Mons Piet continues untouched. He carries on talking about Estarossa. He says, but we find out that the Demon King bestowed Estarossa with a commandment kind of out of pity for him. This pity was born of the fact that his older brother Meliodas and his younger brother Zeldris were both born geniuses. So the commandment that Estarossa was bestowed with, love, awakened the power of darkness within Estarossa, so he kind of became a full-fledged demon then. But it also had a side effect. It ate away at his mind and his soul, leaving him unstable. So all these things we've seen from Estarossa, and we've always referred to him as kind of like he's a madman, he's crazy. But Estarossa is not a madman because he's a giant douche. He's a madman because he's an actual madman. He suffers from mental health issues, like big time. He's having slowly succumbed to a degenerating mind due to his inability to control his commandment, or due to his lack of power, which resulted in his inability to fully control that commandment and its effects on him. So I was just like, wow, like Estarossa he is actually disturbed. He's mentally disturbed at quite a level, and his soul has also been disturbed. So I'm just like, he's actually crazy. So I was really shocked by that, and Mons Piet dropping that, I was like, yo, that's some big shit right there. And it kind of explains how he's a bit of a snake, and how he's just doing all this shit behind his brother's backs, and you're just like, he's actually crazy. Mons Piet finished the history lesson with a warning. Meliodas and Zoldris could both probably ingest and take in all of the commandments, but Estarossa, for him, absorbing more than his own commandment would probably destroy him, seeing as currently his own commandment has eaten away at his mind and his soul. With this, Estarossa collapses, with Dedieri watching in silence. She assumes that Estarossa has fallen and walks towards Mons Piet to talk with him, and this was her second fuck up and her biggest fuck up of this chapter, as Estarossa was still alive and he was just using her essentially. Too late to warn her, Mons Piet watches as Dedieri is gripped by the neck by Estarossa, and Estarossa then takes aim and punches a hole into Dedieri, only for Mons Piet to switch himself with Dedieri. So Dedieri is now holding Mons Piet in the rear naked, and now Estarossa is gripping Mons Piet by the neck and punches a hole into Mons Piet, and he has his last remaining heart pierced and taken out of his body by Estarossa. So the only issue I had here, that was awesome. I was like, oh my god, I really didn't want Mons Piet to die, but I was like, that was so awesome and so well done. The only issue I had here was that Estarossa seemed to know where their last hearts were, and even if he was aiming for the last heart in Dedieri, that shouldn't have been the same position for Mons Piet, because he didn't adjust, he just punched forward. So somehow they both shared exactly the position, exactly the right position of hearts, even though they have a height difference, width difference and everything. So, and if you didn't know where their hearts were, it was just a lucky shot. So I was like, unless he knew where their hearts were, that was a really weird way to kill Mons Piet. I mean, like, maybe the position of the hearts are known, or maybe Endura sacrifices specific hearts. I don't know, there's probably more to this, but yeah, I was just a little bit concerned about that. But what a way to go for Mons Piet. In his final moment, I hope he was able to convey to Dedieri that he actually loved it, but I don't think he did. And now he's essentially dying with his curse of silence still in effect, and Dedieri doesn't understand that he loves her, and it's a horrible way to go. It's not unrequited, it's unknown. She doesn't know that he loves her, and I was like, that's such a sad way to go. So for Mons Piet, his commandment was indeed a curse, and it looks like he won't ever fulfill his desire to tell Dedieri of his love for her. So on the bright side, I don't think she'll last very long without Mons Piet at all. So at least they'll be reunited soon in hell, purgatory, or maybe in Estarossa's stomach. So that was the end of the chapter. I really enjoyed it. It was the feels train for me when I saw Mons Piet get pierced like that, and then now Dedieri is going to be pretty much seeing him pretty soon. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the chapter. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is usually why, by the way, I don't do page for page a review like this, because it's been like 20 minutes. Oh, it's going to be like 18 minutes when I cut it down. But yeah, so this is usually why I don't do it in this fashion. But if you guys preferred it this way, that's up to you guys. So let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in a bit.